So, I've heard recently that with the first few weeks of school in a lot of districts going remote learning for a while, a lot of moms and dads are basically saying, you know what, we're not teachers. And they're thinking about going in as a group and hiring a tutor, and maybe even doing like a small group of neighborhood kids together and everybody pitches in so they can get a tutor to help their kids through all this. It sounds good on the surface, but I spoke with an insurance expert, Christopher Cook, who says that we need to know a few things before we do this. Take a look. So Christopher, it's interesting to me that if these moms are talking about doing this and bringing those kids in and maybe a tutor, what type of insurance issues might we run into if we do that type of thing?
Well, for the most part, there's not a tremendous amount of insurance issues except for when money's exchanged, when a business is created. So if you're running a daycare out of your home, you could run into some homeowners insurance liability coverage exclusions, or if you're the tutor who's getting paid to do these things, you could have some liability exposures.
So really, if there's no money exchanged and they're just having some kids over and they're all going to be tutored, then you're okay. But if you start charging for that, then you need a different type of policy.
Right, when you become a daycare or an in-home daycare essentially, and there's a liability exclusion in every homeowner's policy in North Carolina. Every may be too large of a word, but in the majority of homeowners policies in North Carolina, that would exclude coverage for any activity that was related to an in-home daycare.
Let's talk about if you're just saying, hey, little Johnny can stay at my house. I know things are tough right now in this remote learning. What if he gets hurt on your premise? Are you liable for that?
You weren't at fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Your home wasn't faulty. Your steps weren't slick. You didn't have ice on the ground. But Johnny just got hurt at your property. Medical payments to others is compensation, if you will, for the injury that happened on my property.
That makes sense. Lots to think about in this litigious society that we live in, that's for sure. Hey, Christopher, thanks for your information. We appreciate it, friend. So here's what you think about. There are a couple issues here. So if you have kids that come over and you've hired a tutor, even as a group of parents that put in money to hire a tutor, you're probably okay. The tutor, though, if there were to be any allegations of anything, we're talking physical, mental, any type of something against a child, the tutor would be responsible for any of that liability. So they have to have separate insurance policies, which I've never heard of. And then they would have to do that. Now, as he said, though, if a kid gets hurt at your house, this is any time, right? Most of the time, there's between $1,000 and $5,000 coverage in your homeowner's policy, but sometimes that's not enough. Something to think about,
I would have never even considered the fact that I needed to check in with an insurance agent because my kids were staying home from school and learning from a tutor, Eric. So this is a great story and really should bring attention to something that many parents might want to think about.